we are living in AI era.
Whatever was relevant last month might not be relevant now.
You're doing your MBA at the age of 45 and having those, startups into AI, how this journey had happened.
During my times, I used to study a lot of around business, what is ROI, right? What is equity, what is go-to-market.
How do you see that the tech has evolved from 1990s?
AI is really helping people to defend or against cyber attacks.
How do you think that doing business in UK is different from India or for that matter other parts of the globe?
The key is execution, 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 right?
We have a unique thing which is UPI, which is definitely a great technical enhancement we came up with. But apart from that, I'm not able to see anything which is competing in tech with USA or for that matter China.
I think India has done it right. You got Uber, you got Ola, Flipkart, or whatever. Right? If I say if someone is copying with that means your thing is working.
If I am not able to do Sambi at this particular age.
And remember one thing, right, Kishore?
Hello everyone. In this episode of podcast, we have Ashish, a global tech leader with a career defined by reinvention and ambition. Starting his journey as an engineer from the University of Mumbai, he built deep expertise as a Salesforce consultant, working with top MNCs in India, Europe, and USA. At age 45, he pursued an MBA from University of Cambridge, showcasing a relentless drive for growth. Today, he is the founder of and co-founder of multiple ventures in the UK, where he is combining his technical insight with business acumen to lead and scale multiple companies. He's also part of London Startup Venture. His main startup is AI Open Labs and LSAI.ai, that is basically London School of AI. With this, let's welcome Ashish and let's know from him his journey from his engineering till date, how he has gone through all of those technical and business journey. Hello, Ashish, how are you?
I'm fine, Keshav. Good morning, and it's pleasure to meet you and pleasure to see you. I hope you are doing well as well.
Oh yes, thank you for that, Ashish. Yes, I'm doing well. I mean, it was really tough to get your time because you're so occupied with the different things. Luckily, we got this time this weekend. Thank you for the time.
Absolutely, Keshav. I think same here, right? Because I know you are based out of Tokyo, which is quite far.
Mhm.
You have different time zone, so I
Right.
think all is well that ends well. But it is really glad to connect with you, and I'm more than happy to kind of talk to you.
Likewise, Ashish. Ashish, I was just looking to you, right? To your journey. It's so great. Uh, I just want to know from your end how this journey has been for you. Like you did your engineering from University of Mumbai back in 90s, then you're doing your MBA at the age of 45 and having those startups into AI. How this journey had happened. I just want to know from your end.
Okay, sure. And thanks for the kind words. It's been a very normal journey for me. I mean, but I really appreciate your kind words. Look, I think coming out of Bombay, did my engineering. We used to slog quite a lot, right? I'm sure you know that how engineering kind of makes you prepare for the life. So that was a stepping stone. Obviously, I used to work for different consultancies back in India, and actually that opened a lot of horizons because then I used to move to on-site. During those days, probably go to Belgium, UK, right, US, right, and other parts of the world. So I think it widens your horizon, and that really paved the way for me kind of settling down in London and kind of taking it to the next level. I would say. So I think that's been an interesting journey. I would say.
So how do you see that the tech has evolved from 1990s, back in that time to this time we are living in AI era?
I would say it's a paradigm shift. And the reason I say that, right? So let me give you some context or flavor of what used to
Mhm,
happen back
mhm.
in that day, right? So I used to
Exactly.
work on Oracle. I used to work on Oracle. There is also another CRM called Siebel. Before that, we had a CRM called PeopleSoft, right? So ancient technology. We used to get a refresh or a release of any software once in a year, or once in 2 years, right? Or once in a year if you're lucky. For example, Oracle will send you some CDs, right? CDs which you can put in your laptop and say upgrade to version XYZ. Uh, and obviously things evolved. I used to work on Siebel CRM, which used to again, send you from CDs. We had CDs in a packet. We had some physical books we used to study and all that. There was no internet, so only way to educate yourself. There was no YouTube, right? Is to open the physical books and study. We had big books around Java, right, all that. So physical books. There was no online education as well.
No
So
Stack
that is
Overflow.
no, nothing, right? I mean, internet was quite an infancy stage at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I had a dial-up dialer, right? I had a modem in back home India, and we used to like really use the telephone line, so it would go trrrr, and then it would connect. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think, but that's the advantage of that is we learn the hard way, right? We didn't have good internet bandwidth. Downloading a picture or a text will take 2 hours. So we are
Correct.
used to wait,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of patience which has developed over the time, right? Imagine downloading a paragraph. You to wait for half an hour to download a paragraph of text. I'm not even talking about pictures or
Mm-hmm.
videos, right?
Yeah,
Images.
yeah. The KBs of file, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. I think that really helped. And we didn't have anything, I mean, as I mentioned, everything was physical books, physical CDs. Obviously, it has evolved. Now you get releases. So I work. So okay, let me give context. So from Siebel, I moved to other CRMs. Siebel was acquired by Oracle. Then moved to Salesforce. Salesforce has 3 releases in a year, which is fine. But if you now, if you come to this era of OpenAI, right? We have releases every week. So and it's all pushed. So you understand pull method and a push method. So yeah, a paradigm shift, but it's very exciting, right? I mean, and so let me make this statement, right? We are in a very exciting phase of IT revolution, and I really believe in that because I've seen IT from close to 20 years now. uh, it is happening for the good. Everything has its pros and cons, but the pros outweigh the cons. Is we are really getting to exciting space, right? Even from a Salesforce, so the good thing about AI is impacting every technology, not limited to or software or medical or legal or to content management. It's going to impact across the board. So very exciting times.
Great, great. Ashish, since we're talking about your move from, since you're based out of London, how you choose to, uh, choose UK to live your life further over there, and why UK, and how this happened?
Good question. So I think when, as I mentioned, when I used to work for consultancies in India, right, we used to travel to client side, right, to
Correct.
actually solve the plan. So I was in US for a while. I used to work, well, one of the biggest chip manufacturer was my client. Now it's not the biggest, but you get the point, right? It was
Not
one of the biggest.
Nvidia, right?
No, not Nvidia. Nvidia was not there. So I'm talking about the biggest chip manufacturer in 2000, right? So
Okay.
as that was my client, they wanted to. So I was in California for a while.
Mhm,
I also went to Belgium
mhm,
for a while because that there we had some few clients, a lot of financial clients.
mhm.
I came to UK multiple times, right, through various assignments. And then so I was trying to figure out what is the best way to go forward because I had three options: US, Europe, which is Belgium, and Western Europe and UK. At that time, UK government opened up a scheme called HSMP, which is Highly Skilled Migrant Program. So only if you're highly skilled,
Mhm.
you can Google it, right? HSMP. You can come into this country without, I mean, they would give you a visa to work, right? Because you are supposed to be highly skilled, right? So I think that I applied for that. Obviously, they had point system, right?
Mhm.
PBS, where if you have skill, you got X number of salary, and you so on and so forth. I
Mhm.
think that's how I came into this country
Mhm.
to settle, right? Because otherwise, every time you assignment, you go and finish the complete the assignment, come back, and all that. Right? I think so. Yeah, that was a natural progression. And obviously, since I've been to UK multiple times,
Mhm.
there was this familiarization factor as well.
Mhm.
And I think weather-wise, it's decent.
Mhm.
Closer to home, right? So I can fly to Bombay. I'm from Bombay in
So,
8 hours straight. Every time I crave for let's say chole bhature or whatever, I can easily fly it in 8 hours, right? So I think that really helps because coming from US West Coast, I used to stay in West Coast as well, right? California.
mhm.
It took quite a bit of time. There was jet lag as well, right? So you are spending close to 24 to 30 hours to actually end to end do
Mhm.
that. So yeah, I think all these factors really help. And as I mentioned, UK is much more closer to home, both geographically, physically, and metaphorically as well, right? A lot of Indian expats stay in London,
Mhm.
so you never feel out of place. At the same time, you also get the London vibe. So best of both the worlds.
Based on both the worlds, also very close to Europe, also in between of US and India. So you can look to both of those, continents from being in Europe and in London, right?
Absolutely, Keshav. So I think you hit the nail on the head. So if you even if you look at the time zone perspective, right? So imagine if I was working in California, right?
Mhm,
Then it's very difficult to work with my Indian colleagues because of time zone difference.
mhm,
I'll give you an instance, right? As I mentioned, I used to work for a chip manufacturer. That was my client.
mhm.
I had my calls at 2:30 a.m. California time, so I used to wake up at 2:30 a.m. to just to have calls to back offshore. So, and because I didn't want them to wake up at 2:30 a.m. that side because there's a team of 50 people. I didn't want to,
Yeah,
so I
this
used
can
to
understand.
wake up at 2:30 and do that. So, I think since UK is central, I can both talk to my teams back in India, at our
Mhm,
teams in India,
mhm,
and also talk to my teams back, Europe.
mhm.
West Coast also is fine because it's not a stress. So I think, as you rightly mentioned, time zone also it really helps,
Mhm,
where you can cover all the time zones.
mhm,
Not all because Australia is opposite of UK, but
mhm.
you can't cover everything. But I think this is a strategically placed country from a
Correct.
cultural perspective, from geographical perspective, from an IT perspective, time zone. So I think that fits the bill.
Since Ashish, you have so much of expertise in business and you have uh, done business with a lot of people across all those continents, um, how do you think that doing business in UK is different from India, or for that matter, other parts of the globe?
See, very good, interesting question, right? I have tried to open companies in India because I was there.
Mhm,
Also trying to I have launched company in UK.
mhm,
Uh, I think ease of doing business is great. There are a lot of I think even the same right India, right? Even India is trying to get to that pace, but I think sometimes the entrepreneurship spirit is quite obvious in UK. I mean that's what I so one is government factor, and I think Indian government is doing quite well to help.
mhm.
But we also, from the background from where I come, we are risk averse, right? Because you understand opportunity cost, right? If I want to start
Correct.
something,
Mhm,
I'm out of college. Can I go and take a job of, I don't know, 10 lakhs per annum? Or
mhm,
can I start something on my own which might or might not work?
mhm.
And what will I tell my parents? Kya kar raha hai? So, who is trying to build something? And so there is a opportunity cost, right? You understand, sir? I think that is a factor. Otherwise, also networking, entrepreneurship. I think in India also that the startup culture is there, but yeah, it's different. And the last point I want to mention that when I started my first company 2011, around 14 years back, there was no startup culture, right? I think it came out because I wanted to create a company which is Infoviti UK, right? Infoviti UK. Uh, I think there's a gap in the market, and that's where we realized. Now, obviously, because of the social media, everything has exposure, startup culture has come. But I built a startup in 2012. I don't think anyone even knew about startup.
Yeah,
We are
I
talking.
think it started back in India in 2014, and Ola, Uber were coming into the market, and Flipkart, like such companies were there in the market.
Yeah, so yeah, 2012. So Infoviti UK is still in black, right? I mean, so it was a bootstrap venture. It is still bootstrap venture.
Mhm,
The revenues in the close to around 1 million. But I think it was purely bootstrap because what? I even didn't know what funding was, right? Nowadays, and obviously you look at funding and all that. It was just I want to make a company, start a company. Let's see where we go. So I think, yeah, ease of doing business. At the same time, there are I think the ecosystem helps.
mhm.
Obviously, now the ecosystem in India is quite, but at that time, right, 2012, I'm sure we had a lot of physical forms back in India. Here it was still online. So, and there are a lot of people to bounce ideas, and there was a market gap, right? I think that's what we call it. So, a lot of factors, but I think now things are evening out. I mean, back in India, I can see a lot of vibrant culture. I travel to Bangalore every 3 months, right? Because I have my team there.
Mhm.
Uh, and I feel like, oh, I should be here now because now the needle has moved. I must say that now the needle has moved. A lot of vibrant culture. Bangalore is a perfect place for a startup incubator. So that's the reason I'm also getting into helping startup, right? If that makes sense. So we are
Yeah.
doing that. So, yeah, I think things have changed for the better in India.
And with you being the part of London startup venture startup, I think that's where your spirit comes to help startup doing a startup, right?
Absolutely right. Because I'm also part of London ecosystem where we help startups. So there's a it's backing by Mayor of London. So they help startups in terms of funding, strategic direction, roadmap. So I'm part of that ecosystem in
Mm-hmm.
London. So whatever gathering or networking event which happens in London,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of absorb that and get it back to India.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned, I also did my MBA from Cambridge. We have a very good alumni, obviously, Cambridge. So we also have a lot of meetups around Cambridge MBAs, right? So, and the reason I say that because the people who are doing MBA with me, right, in AI,
Mm-hmm.
they always CTOs and CEOs of companies. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
let's face it, who would come to Cambridge and do the MBA? Because the entry criteria is quite difficult. Uh, so it helps when you talk to people who are in the ecosystem and who are Cambridge pass out
Mm-hmm.
MBA.
Mm-hmm.
So when you kind of understand the roadmap and what they are doing in their lives, it's like imagine. Sorry, I'm going to detail. Imagine if I'm talking to you, right? And you run a company, you have a lot of people reporting to you. So 1 hour of just one-to-one meeting really kind of helps me to learn what I couldn't have learned from books in 6 months, right? If you tell me, look, Ash, this is what is happening in my company, right? Nothing confidential, but it's generally saying AI generative is coming, we are trying to implement it, or this can change X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
It's brainstorming. So you know where the world is getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one more thing which I realized it, you need to be a step ahead, right?
Okay.
I always say don't catch the wave by the time it has come to you. If you think of the cycle of any evolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
It will all come to us via news channel and everything, and by the time it is already peaked. So I think you need to understand what is going to happen 3 years down the line and
Correct.
scale it up. Very, very important, right? I can't emphasize that. It's like I'm not an investor, but I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm an investor. I can see a lot of news coming into TV saying, "Oh, this stock is doing well." Right. I like, look, it has come to you after everyone is, got
That's
into the bus and they want to exit, right? So I
right.
think, or again, with no respect to social media, that's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Important thing is you should know what is the next wave and how you can get into that because you will see a lot of noise around Chat GPT, right? How this AI tool we actually get an early insight and we should be ahead of the curve. I think that's the point and that's the reason networking helps because whatever you see on social media is like people who used it now they are sharing the knowledge with you because they want to take an exit
Stale
and
information, kind of, against it's a stale
yes.
information.
And remember one thing, right, Keshav? Every time someone wants to teach you the how to do it, right? That means that the juice has been taken out of it. So, for example, let's say I'm making creating a I don't know a pen or a T-shirt, right? Only I know how to do it. I'll do it inside to. Once I start teaching people saying how to manufacture a T-shirt or how to manufacture a ball pen, that means it's end game, right? Now I'm going to just make money out of how to do that. That means I have done my bit, and I don't see any arbitrage or advantage of doing something. I say, okay, I'm going to teach people how to do it because even if they learn,
Mm-hmm.
it's fine because I'm already on my way out. So I think that's where the ecosystem takes you. So I think the idea is to be out of the game and look at what is going to come up because and the reason by the time you build something, looking at social media you're almost at the tail end. And because you're GTM, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go to market strategy has to be such that you need to go to the market very quickly, right? Because you need to, again, it's not a race, but at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, there's always a first mover advantage. I
Definitely.
can say first mover advantage. So I think
Definitely.
make sure that not only talking to network, but understand where there's a gap,
Mm-hmm.
what the business wants, and how can you help, and so on. So again, I can go into much more detail about some of the specific use cases, but that's where the crux is.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So we talked about that information, right? I think someone who can foresee the things and will definitely give them a leg up in the market. And anyone who is coming with a new idea, for say, uh, one who came up with a new idea will definitely have a first mover advantage than the person who is copying that idea and coming with a cheaper price. The market will definitely recognize this as a hey that you are coming up like a cheap version of ABC or XYZ, you can say. So the first mover advantage in any business and one who can foresee the things, they definitely gonna have that extra leg up and going to conquer the market. Definitely agree on that point.
Absolutely, Kish. I think the one more thing is ideas is not, well, I say it's important because everyone has ideas, right? And the key is execution, 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 right? There are no blue ocean opportunity. If
Mhm,
there are, they would have been picked up, right? Imagine if I come and say, hey, I want to create something which no one has thought about.
mhm,
Why has no one thought about it? There are so many great entrepreneurs
mhm,
in the world, right?
mhm,
If you think I want to sell something like this, I'm sure there's a reason why someone hasn't done it. If it's a good opportunity, I'm sure someone is working on it.
mhm,
And it all comes down to deep pocket as well. Is there a blue ocean opportunity? Right, I'll come to that.
mhm,
If you are the first one in the world to think about it, probably someone already thought about it. There are so many great minds across the across the world.
mhm,
At the same time, there'll be some ideas which will take a lot of deep pockets to go to market. Let me give you a very specific example, right? So
mhm,
when ChatGPT came, right? I think everyone knows only ChatGPT. There are other aspects, but let's talk. And then someone thought about, oh, how about creating a bot which will only consume PDF, which is given by us, and phrase it out of what is as a PDF. Very simple use case. Probably it was not there in early version of ChatGPT, right? So let's assume someone thought this is a great idea at that point of time, and they built a team, invested time, money, energy. ChatGPT came out with something similar 3 months down the line, right? So obviously they have got deep pockets, they can market it, and the product is mature. So imagine someone trying to do that because there's a gap. They
mhm,
didn't realize that there was something already working background the process. And I know the people who try to do that, right? A lot of apps came in, but one fine day, ChatGPT announced we are launching this particular feature, and they're a giant, right? I mean, even the you there'll be 90/20, but they've got all the features because they've got a good engineering team. So the point is, right? Try to create your own niche, right? Try to because a giant who is in the specialized, they can easily create a team overnight of
correct.
highly skilled people.
Mhm,
They have got deep pockets to pay to for expertise, right? What is stopping them to actually not do that, right? So I think probably figure out what are doing. And as I mentioned previously, like your GTM cycle should be very short, right?
mhm,
I've seen people trying to refine a product, right? 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. It is, you understand 80/20 rule, right?
mhm,
Make sure you go to the market quickly. If you spend some time to refine the products, right, you lost advantage. There will be people coming in and you are still 80/20, 80, and by the time you refine it, it's called analysis paralysis. Don't get into that. You should have a clear marketing. Obviously, don't deliver half-cooked products. So
yes.
I call it MVP,
Yes.
minimum viable product.
Mhm,
Make sure it is workable, do
mhm,
better testing,
mhm,
go to the market, figure out,
mhm,
and fail early. Very important, fail early. Don't wait for 1 year and say, oh, probably there's a mistake and I should done that. You don't fail early. So go to the market, learn this early because as I mentioned earlier, we had a 2 year of, I call it life cycle of a product.
mhm.
Now it is coming to 3 months. If you don't go out early, you are already lacking
You're out
behind.
of the
So I think
market. Mhm,
yeah,
mhm. So we talk about the stuffs, right? Like the one who is having niche in their product or in the capability of their product, who are having such a belief in their product. How different do you see the markets of India or Europe or USA, where giant companies wants to stand up their own team overnight, or they really want to welcome any startup who comes to pitch their ideas to them, and this ecosystem in Silicon Valley, this ecosystem in India, or this ecosystem in Europe, how welcoming those giant companies are towards a startup to listen to them and their ideas and their product? Where do you see the differences?
see, I think if you look at US West Coast, it's a different ecosystem, right? I used
Mhm,
to work there and also work for a Salesforce startup, which is an app exchange company.
mhm,
Uh, it's very vibrant. There are a lot of VCs available, right? Venture capital. There are a lot of seed funding available in West Coast. Because and the I mean you won't believe. I mean we have a very small inner circle
mhm,
of early go-to-market founders, right? Where we say we launch it within ourselves, right? So figure out what. If you look at the kind of product which they are coming with, is pretty great. It is not only because of technical knowledge, the whole ecosystem funding, right? seamless integration with a lot of other payment providers. I'll give you a simple example, right? So I'm sure you know that in UK and Europe, you've got payment providers uh, which are quite common, right? I won't name them, but which are very global and which are, if I want to integrate my website or an app with a payment, I can do that. Possibly in India, there are a lot of regulations for all the good reasons, but it takes a while to get all the government regulation because of frauds happening, right?
Hmm.
That's what is happening. So I think if you think about if you want to build something, right, as I call it, one person startup, right? That's what I do. Uh, it's very easy. You can do it in 2 days. You can get funding, show a demo, show MVP, right? Look at the 11 project, and you can get it. So I think US ecosystem is very very different. Um, and people are on the same page, right? So before I say anything, I just put a one liner, you know what I'm coming from, what will be my revenue one, and you get it, right? Because you are VC, that's your job, right? You do your due diligence. Europe again, I think we are there. London is quite vibrant. Probably India also catching up about, but again, I think it all comes down to funding. As Now, there is a differentiator between it. In Europe and US, very easy to get funding. Probably in India, I'm sure you must be following social media and all that. Right? There are some uh, issues around founders or promoters, trying to figure out how to get funding. If funding comes in, what happens? And there are legal complications, compliance. I won't get into that.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, so now people are appreciating, okay, if I'm going to fund this business, I'm not sure where the money will be spent, right? I don't know what the promoter is going to do because of, various reasons. I think, as far as I'm concerned, all my startup in bootstrapped for the reasons is once you dilute equity, you
Hmm.
actually lose control and you need to be really profitable. I know there are people on your back
Entity.
saying, "Can
Hmm.
you?" And then you need to get into a competition of round one, round two, series A, series B, and then you
Hmm.
lose equity and you dilute equity. So I think that's a challenge. Obviously, funding helps you because then you can scale up quite quickly,
Hmm.
hire the team. I've seen people acquiring a lot of companies because they have got funding to acquire companies. Pros and cons, I'm not saying what is right or what is wrong, but for me, I wanted the liberty of doing something my own and going at my own speed because if someone invests in you, they need a quick ROI, right?
Yeah,
Not quick, but they at least need to see ROI.
right.
And like when can you go to the market, right? When can you start offering that? Then it has got its own challenges. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It has its
Hmm.
own challenges.
Yeah.
I probably need to do it my way.
Both
But
pros
again,
and cons. Yeah.
but at the same time, if you need funding, is available. I think
Hmm.
that's what I'm trying to say. So
Hmm.
that's how ecosystem differs. And obviously, in India is a different ecosystem, and there are checks and balances for a reason, right? I'm not saying there are unnecessary, but then sometimes because there are so many problems, I just want to call it problems happening in India ecosystem. They put lots of checks and balances, lots of compliance, and then you like, okay, I'm a genuine, a genuine interpreter. I get, sometime I've spoken to people. They said there are too many forms to fill up. I'm not doing it. So I think that's where the slight difference is, right? But I'm sure people are
Yeah.
addressing that.
People
I
are.
hope I answered.
Yeah, that definitely. I think a lot of people are talking about the compliances issues in India, where they have to really set up a business. But I have a follow-up questions from the conversation that we are having right now. So, right, we talk about AI, we talk about your MBA. Let's talk about the MBA. How this idea came up to you, and what was the initial thought you were having in your mind when you were about to join the MBA program, and how you overcome that. What real differences that you see in yourself after your MBA, and what advice you want to give to the people who are really want to do MBA and they have a certain thought in their mind that okay, if I am not able to do this MBA at this particular age, I will be back in my career or some sort of thing like that. What you have to say about it?
No, great question, Krishna. I think I'll address it one by one. So I think first is I'm basically an engineer, right? Electronics
Yes.
engineer, so very techy, right? So
Mm.
initially, before when I came out, I didn't know any ABC what ABC commerce or MBA because that was not my core skill.
Mm.
If you tell me to write a code, probably I will do it very
Mm.
pure. Over the time, I realized that even though you're technical, you should have some business acumen. So
Right.
very, very important, right?
Mm.
Uh, when I used to work for consultancy firms, right? Your manager said, "Do this." You just do it and get on with it. You also need to probably as you grow up the ladder, right? You understand how the business works. Why does the client is asking you something for why is he asking for that, right? I need to understand that. Uh, on your own, during my times, I used to study a lot of around business, what is ROI, right? What is equity, what is go-to market, but it was all scattered because there was not a structured way of learning, right? Imagine you are techie, you know how to write code, but if you want to understand how business works, what is operational, what is strategy, what is roadmap, what is ROI, you will talk to your friends, you will read some books. Now YouTube also is great, but it is not structured, right? You need to figure out what is happening, and that was the reason I felt it's important to know that, because technical skills can really get to you to a very top level, but after a while you need to understand how business works. If you want to be an entrepreneur, right, you need to understand what is profit and loss statement, what is your balance sheet,
Mhm.
are you in black, are you in red, what is equity, right? In case you want to go for funding, what is valuation, right? You know all about it. That's where there's a gap, right? When being a technical person, you need to understand that.
Mhm.
Now, the second question is why Cambridge, right? I think obviously Cambridge and Oxford has their own brand
Reputation.
value.
Yeah.
I would say not only reputation, not only brand, but actually, even if you look at their program, which I did, right,
Mhm.
from Cambridge Judge, it has got a lot of gravitas around it, a lot of value to that, right? You understand what is happening, and the reason I say that because we had people coming from industry, so those lectures where someone of a CEO from a top banking finance banking company or top manufacturing company from a airline company, right? All those things. So understand really, and they are quite up to date, right? So I did my MBA around 3 years back, where AI probably was not that kind of mainstream, but we learned quite a lot because we could, as I mentioned, we were slightly ahead of the curve. That is point one. So point one is obviously value add which you gain. Second is you are talking to the actual CEOs and CTOs of companies, right? Who are running company, not X, right? Not X. They are doing a day-to-day operation.
Maybe
And the
Fortune
reason I
100,
say
we
that,
can say.
sorry again.
CEOs, CTOs of Fortune 100 companies, can we say?
Yeah, yeah, I would say absolutely. I mean, Cambridge and Oxford, right, it's the top one and two in the world. So obviously, they would be also like to share the knowledge, and we are more than happy to do because where else that would go if not Cambridge or Oxford, right? That's where they would come. Important interact, and I emphasize the point of current CEO and cities, right? It's okay to probably I'm retired, for example, but then in AI, right? Whatever was relevant last month might not be relevant now, right? I think very
Yes.
important. So you should be current. I think that's where it helps. And third is I cannot underemphasize that, or can in networking. I don't want to use the word networking because networking intends just getting context, but I think we actually have our inner circle,
Mhm.
right? As I say, small group which talks about what is happening. And now, since you know that he's from Kanish, she's from Kanish, we are in the same batch, we can easily exchange ideas, thoughts, what's happening, and all that thing. And then we get a collective wisdom. So we have probably a weekly call every Sunday, right? Instead of watching Netflix, right? We have a weekly call saying what happened in your company, right? No inside information, just don't forget what is the trend, right? And the wisdom which is coming out, no books can teach you that because there is nothing written about AI in the books, right? Is last week something happened, I've been hearing this. Oh, I didn't know about it, tell me more about it. This is what the latest trend is, the new technology. Okay, then I go to another startup meeting where again I get a wisdom. So it's all evolving, it's not documented everywhere, and as we are all learning as we speak. I think that information is the key, right?
So the word I
when
want to take is the collective wisdom from here. That is very important.
collective wisdom from all the strategy level people, right? I think I'm sure there are a lot of things happening at the API level in church, various tools, but that is again technical level. But when you see where the roadmap and all that collective wisdom, which is the latest one, at happening at the very senior most level, very important, right?
Mhm.
Strategy level, what is the direction? Yeah.
Mhm.
Just to add to that, a lot of banks, a lot of finance companies are getting to cybersecurity because AI. So you might not know what is happening at the back end,
Mhm.
but we are taking a lot of precautions to make sure that AI is prompt. How do we defend? AI is really helping people to defend or against cyber attacks because you must have heard about AI is bad
Mhm.
because criminals can use it.
Mhm.
It's a great tool for people like us who are into client management of banks.
Mhm.
Really helpful. So I think it can be used as a tool. It can be also used as a
like AI is really helping the attackers than the defenders, because the attackers have that AI agents which they can reiterate and keep on having that DDoS attack on the system, because they can frequent, they don't have anything to do. But at the time, on the standpoint from the, from the standpoint of the defenders, they have a particular process that they have to fix a patch, they have to again go for a QA, they have to again push it to the production. So this takes a lot of time. So here I think AI people, the attackers who are using AI have a strong, edge than the defenders. Do you
Uh,
have any counter thought to it?
yes, Keshav. So I think you mentioned of a typical life cycle, right? So we call it sprint or agile, where we go
Yeah,
to DevOps. Right?
yeah.
You won't believe it, right? Before 3 months, we have a development deployment cycle of probably a week, right? I'm sure you know goes to dev to QA to pre-prod.
Hmm.
It's all AI based, so it is very quick fix. And now we use all AI for DevOps, right? You understand DevOps,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Very quick progression.
Hmm.
At the same time, like I'll be very honest without disclosing a lot,
Hmm.
all the financial institution and banking system, they are one side out of the attackers. I would say that because of AI, right? It can study patterns,
Hmm.
it can study a lot.
Hmm.
uh, for example, if you're, I'm just giving an example, right? If which is over, it's out in the open, if your credit card or something is used somewhere
Hmm.
which is not as per usual pattern, we can pick it up very easily.
Okay.
There are anti-fraud detection happening very quickly. I remember before 5 years, I would have to look at my credit card and oh, my credit card has been used in some other country which I was not there, right? Probably, and the bank might send you an SMS 1 week down the line,
Hmm.
and that by the time, you have missed the bus, right?
It
So
happens.
because
Yeah.
you already it happens.
Hmm.
Now it is real time.
Hmm.
It is not even real time. It can predict what's going to happen, and it has a pattern. So obviously, it's a tug of war.
Hmm.
But then you also need to understand that companies have all the access to the legal tools, right?
Hmm.
Because criminals cannot buy everything, right? Without going to too much detail. So yeah, the team of security experts, and as I mentioned, we have got access to the technology which is coming up,
Hmm.
so that also helps, right? Imagine you got a weapon or which is outdated, right? We have got latest weapon when we get access to weapons legally rather than being criminal. So again, I'm not saying that it won't happen, but then AI also helping the defenders as well, right? Is
Right.
helping the attackers, but they're defending defenders in a slightly better position because they got access to all the tools, technology, everything which is quite legal and everything. So, which is fair enough. But I think, having said that, right, I'm slightly going away, but then it is also helping medical quite a lot. So,
Yeah. Hmm.
there are specific use cases where an X-ray takes
Hmm.
probably 2 weeks because of radiology is not available. AI can do it at a 1 minute, 50 X-rays and all that, right? So it is pretty good. But again, that's a separate topic on its own, so let's not go there, right?
So we talked about the having setting up the business in UK and how it is different from other part of the globe. But on the flip side, what are the challenges that you see having setting up a business in UK? We talk about India, we talk about other parts, but what the challenge part in UK?
I would say probably the manpower. So, as you probably have realized, I have my team back in India, right? A lot of offshore team.
Hmm.
I think that so you got all the strategy directions from UK, but if I really hire a team of 50,
Hmm.
difficult for me.
Hmm.
As I mentioned, I'm bootstrapped, right? Coming out from my savings, right?
Hmm.
So I think that's. I'm not saying it's a negative factor, but obviously the cost hybrid is still there.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think that's the only case because we also have a lot of meetups here and all that. So I can't see much of difference.
Hmm.
No major challenges as such. Can't think of any right now. Right now.
So we talk about those offshore team. Imagine, suppose a scenario where a team is based out of offshore, and I mean, the business itself is in India, for example. Let's say, and a company who really wants to do a business directly from India, or a company which is already having a setup in UK and having an offshore team in India. Which company will be likable to do business with? One who is having a setup in India itself, or one who's having a setup in UK, having an offshore team in India?
See, it's always better to have an entity which is established in UK because it's easier to do business because of various reasons. One of this compliance is right because
Mhm.
I'm sure you understand GDPR and everything. I think
Yes.
if I'm a client, right? If I'm a bank
Mhm.
or any I would like to work with a business.
Mhm.
Obviously, you can hire people on
Mhm.
site, right, to face, which
Mhm.
is fine, right? All the companies have, but then you should have a legal entity based out of UK. That's where the because of, as I mentioned, compliance reasons,
Mhm.
GDPR, financial reasons, right? Even from a legal perspective, you have to be in the UK jurisdiction to actually
Mhm.
get into anything, right?
Mhm.
Once you draft the contract, where are you based? Because
Mhm.
look, it's a flat world, right? You can get resources, a team anywhere, not only India, right? Anywhere in the globe, right? There are talented people available every month. So how do I differentiate between, or why the client would work with a company and not B, right? Because there are a lot of, I'm sure, great companies back in India or otherwise. Oh, we can do it
Mhm.
in a more cost efficient manner and not at the compromising quality as well. So I think that's where the legal compliance is. I'm sure you heard of GDPR. GDPR is very, very strict, and you cannot have servers outside
Oh, yes.
UK as well.
Yep.
So I think, yes, I have a team in back in India. For example, you might go, but what's the legal entity based? Or it's India. Then it's a, because then, in case of anything going wrong, the client will be hesitant to and to deal with any jurisdiction, any legal complication with a company which is not based in UK, because they know their lawyers will say, oh, I wouldn't even know how to kind of deal with a company which I don't know the country rules, and it gets into messy complications. So better to stick to an entity which is based out of UK, right? And
Got
that's
it.
very simple.
And I think the anyone who wants to take up their business in that particular country, it's good for them to also set up their one entity in that particular country itself because of the trust issues it can make
Yeah,
out.
I think yeah, trust issue, and even if there's a no trust issue, right? And I know that personally, think, but there, every company has a legal team, right? There's a
Yes.
legal advisor. Okay, good. They are, you know them, they're ethical, but then we are not comfortable in dealing with them because of X Y Z reason, because they are not legally bound here, right? As I mentioned, there are technical challenges, right? So as I mentioned about a payment provider,
Mhm.
yeah, let's say my client comes to me saying, hey, let's say I'm based out of India.
Mhm.
Since my IP or the servers
Mhm.
in India, I will have to deal with the different payment providers. I know of one major global company, I'm dealing with that right now,
Mhm.
which has ceased operation in India, right? I won't name it, but and now,
Mhm.
and the other alternatives are not great because they've got different compliance issues. So like, how do we take payment from a customer, because we cannot do that? And that's a very major payment provider which has ceased operation for various compliance reasons, and they've stepped back. So I think we need to understand that where are you based, and that actually it's a very good use case, right? Because we went ahead
Mhm.
and they let that payment provider,
Mhm.
let's say, company ABC, which you swipe in, right, and you pay online. They said, we are not going to work in India. You look for some local players, right? So I'm sure India has a lot of payment providers. I won't name them,
Right.
but they have their own set of compliance, and they won't deal with a UK-based entity.
Mhm.
So I think everything works well
Mhm.
till you hit a roadblock either in terms of finance, right,
Mhm.
mm, or in terms of legal.
Mhm.
Then there is no work around that. So be very careful, because then you've got different rules for different countries. Anyway, that's a separate topic on its own, but that's the flavor, right?
So we talk about AI, Ashish, right? Where do you think AI is helping India, being India and IT outsourcing hub? We're talking about offshore team in India, right? There are a lot of companies who are having the front offices in US and UK, or in other parts of Europe, and they're having offshore team in India for developing and outsourcing the software. With AI coming into the picture, how that will dent the economy of India, being an IT, software outsourcing hub?
See, it can be an opportunity or it can be also a threat, depending
Mhm.
on how we look at it, right?
Mhm.
I think India has a lot of manpower, right?
Mhm.
Qualified manpower, I must say, right?
A great tech
Uh,
system.
Great tech system. So that's a pro, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, uh, everything which was outsourced or offshore
Mhm.
might not happen in near future or in short term. And the reason is, if you look at value chain, right? There is
Mhm.
strategy level, there is operational, there is tactical, right? So
Mhm.
strategy, tactical, operation. Like for example, right? People doing testing, manual testing, right? Yeah, it's very difficult to find 50 people who doing manual testing day out.
Mhm.
Easier for me to outsource and offshore because of cost arbitrage and also resource availability.
Mhm.
But let's say because of AI, I can automate it. So in
Mhm,
that case, that thing goes, right? Because the
mhm,
whole team say, oh, now we have got robots, right? I call it robots, but you can call bots or AI agents, right? Doing it day in, day out. So we can bring it in-house. So I think that's the first thing. I think the idea is messages try to move away from a kind of a low level value add, but not just depend on the cost arbitrage. Look at strategy, look at where the world is heading, and try to add value. Because if you want to compete on price, you know, someone else will easily kind of cut you at the lower price. Don't want to do that. So I think probably compete at quality and value add, right? I think that's where the game is, right? Don't just compete on price because it can never last long. There will be someone else who doing it for cheaper price, and then you're
exactly.
gone. So,
Exactly.
so and now even that is gone because as I mentioned, right, instead of hiring 1,000 testers, I can just get one AI agent and probably someone to look after it. Not very easy, but
Mhm,
there's capex. You understand capex and opex, right?
mhm.
One time investment, refine it, and that's it. Then at least I got something on site, and people same times. I mean, they're AI agent, right? Working 24/7. So I think it helps. It's
Mhm.
a pros and cons. So my message, my view is again, I can be wrong. Is try to move up the value chain, right? There was a time where internet was not there for everything. You had to go fly on site or something, which is a kind of a manual job, right? Testing outsourced, but now it won't be valid. So, but there's opportunity as well.
So with AI in the picture, how important it is to identify which jobs we can automate with the AI, which jobs we have to do with the manual, because I am seeing a rush in everyone in all of the companies that they are just trying to automate everything with the AI. But we have to really give a thought about it, a deliberate thought about it, that okay, this process we can do it manually, this process we have to automate with the help of AI, this process we can just let it be how it is happening right now with the help of the the manual way or any other part of things. Do you think yes, it is very much needed right now because we cannot do all of the sort of things with the AI itself, and we really need to have a deliberate thought on it.
A very good question. I think that is evolving as we speak. So before 3 weeks, right? So I mean, before a month, AI agent was not there, right? It was just pure AI, right? I mean, uh,
Mhm. Yes.
now even in Salesforce, AI agents have come. A lot of AI agent has come which can do the job for you, right? So
Mhm.
that is automated. I'll put it here out in the open. It is not mature, right? There are a lot
Mhm.
of companies who say we got AI agent, but probably it is not doing what it's supposed to do. At the
Mhm.
same time, at least you got a foot in the door. It's not matured. It will mature in 3 to 4 months. I'm sure you must have seen a lot of hype around vibe coding, right? Where
Yes.
the
Prompt engineering.
programmers
Yeah.
prompt and vibe coding where it will write the code for you.
Mhm.
So the challenge is you understand technical debt, right? It is writing a lot of code for you without you understanding what it's doing. If I tell you it's not working, you
Mhm.
don't know how to troubleshoot because someone else wrote the code, right?
Agree on that because debugging is the most important part.
Be working now. They so I'll give you an example. Someone, right? I mean, we are in the latest cutting edge technology, so we use vibe coding.
Mhm.
I know someone who's used vibe and say, oh, this went wrong, and he actually asked Cursor, right? So Cursor is
Mhm. Mhm.
then you fix it. He wrote another page of code.
Mhm.
Like, no, you don't want to write it, you are increasing the technical depth, right? So I think be aware of what AI can do because AI is a very, very powerful machine, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, if you let it loose, it will write millions of lines of code without even understand. And if something breaks, you wouldn't know where to look.
It's a
I think
two-way
so.
sword. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a two-way. So I think, coming to a question, make sure you understand, probably guide him, and don't let it control you. I
Mhm.
mean, if it writes something, you need to understand why it written something, and I think that's the problem.
Mhm.
Vibe coding is very much, I say, some social media people into vibe coding. They're writing so much of code without understanding what can go wrong.
Yes.
And second thing is we are losing the programming capabilities. I hate to say that, but you should still be able to write code yourself. So it's like me telling you, saying, "Can you write some code for me?" I don't know. You will write the code, but and if you go away, I don't know what did you do. If I what Keshav wrote a good code, but I don't know how to fix it. So I
Right.
think I should be able to do that. So even though I spent 30 years, I can still do. I'm not a good at coder, but I can still understand the basic syntax and understand the logic, right? You
Mhm.
understand flow chart, pseudocode.
Yes.
Do that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't just say, I want to write this, please do it for me. It will then be like, okay, it work, okay, fine enough. You
Mhm.
wouldn't know. that at what time it is written a badge, what time it will trigger, you wouldn't know, right? You're just hoping it
Mhm.
will work. And look, AI also does sometimes hallucinate.
Mhm.
Don't want your depend your life on that. I hope he has done the right thing. Probably not, right? You haven't have you tested all the use cases?
Mhm.
No. You know what happens on 31st December night? You would you know? Will it delete everything? You don't know, right? I mean, for example, right? You don't know, right? What is the code written? I think,
Correct.
yeah. High control. Don't be too much dependent. If it goes down, you are. If the system goes down, do you know how to troubleshoot? No. You're
Right.
in production. So I think there are a lot of tools. So as I said, right? Give you a simple analogy. Autopilot car, right?
Mhm.
It can drive the car, but suddenly it goes at 500 miles. You need to know where the gear is, where the accelerator is, where the brake is, right?
Mhm.
Then if you're driving car on a left highway, it goes suddenly takes left. You don't know how to control it. Then you are totally dependent. So I think you should have the control. You should understand what it's trying to do,
Always.
right? Well,
Always.
yeah.
Right. So we talk about AI, right? With this, we talk we talk about your ventures, that is AI, Open Labs and InfoVT. What AI Info Labs does?
So AI Open Labs is into purely B2B consulting
Mhm.
around AI. So that
Mhm.
was kind of started 3 to 4 years back.
Mhm.
Uh, Purely B2B. So we advise businesses in how to make the cost efficient, right?
Mhm.
That's what our business is.
Mhm.
Let's not go into too much detail, but that we advise the companies about how to leverage AI in a safer way. I think
Mhm.
that's what we do. InfoVT was established 14 years back, right? I mean,
Okay.
that's so InfoVT 2012, so yeah, around 13 years back.
Mhm.
It was purely into Salesforce consulting. We are also getting into Salesforce. Uh, it was again B2B, right? Helping business how to implement Salesforce, how to implement CPQ, which is again a very niche in Salesforce and all that.
Mhm.
But AI Open Labs is thing which I started after I did my MBA from Cambridge, right? So that's when I knew that since I did my degree from Cambridge into AI, let's leverage it. And we kind of knew that AI wave is coming. Obviously, it has picked up in last 1 or 2 years, but then we could kind of see slightly out of the curve, saying that is what is going to come. So I think again, Yapan is purely into B2B. We are trying to get into B2C because there's a lot of noise in social media about this is AI. I don't use Instagram, but a lot of people say I'm a AI tutor, which is everyone is teaching AI. So you have to make sure that you get taught from the right people.
Yes.
Instagram, I see people who are selling. Again, not all of them, or some of them were selling shampoos till yesterday, and now they're selling AI, or they were selling hair oil, or they were selling crypto. Now they are selling AI. Um, Again, no disrespect, but then get it from the qualified people who understand it, because AI can be a very sharp tool if you use it the wrong way. So I think that's
Correct.
my message, and that's where we come in, right? A team of expert, not someone who's an influencer who can sell you hair oil,
Mhm.
who can sell you crypto, who can sell you a lot of things and get away, right? Or who can sell you stock tips, right? Be aware, right? I mean, that's my
So
message.
like we can see that on the social media right now with stock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, we need to be aware that who is the authorized or who is
Authentic
qualified.
person who knows about it and then try
Yeah.
to buy out things from them.
Authentic also, you should be qualified to teach. Like going to a person on the road saying, "Can you do my surgery?" Oh, is he a doctor? Is he qualified to do a surgery? Right? You just, oh, he's a cheaper guy. Can you open my heart? No, I think So
That's
I think
right.
same thing, right?
That's right.
Make sure you go to the qualified people to
Hmm.
always talk to an expert. I would say, right? Don't try to cut corners. If you need help, talk to an expert. If I need some help, I'll go to finance expert. If I need some help into my medical, I'll go to a doctor who is an expert, right? Same with AI. Don't go with again, with all due respect, right? People who sell hair oil yesterday, they will sell crypto tomorrow. For them, it's an influencing thing, but make sure you go to the expert, right? Yeah.
So where we see the tech is booming everywhere with OpenAI, Grok, DeepSeek in China. We being India, where we being a pool of talented people, just copying the things which is already coming up from Silicon Valley and developing on top of it. uh, where we are lacking, like, or maybe where do you see that we are doing things which is different? Because from my point of view, we have a unique thing which is UPI, which is definitely a great technical enhancement we came up with. But apart from that, I'm not able to see anything which is competing with intake with USA or for that matter China.
So there are multiple reasons around it, right? So first, I think which I just touched upon the ecosystem, and the second is opportunity cost. So I'll be very very honest, right? To build any product, so divide into two parts: products or services, right?
Mhm,
There are a lot of services coming into AI, right? Who can tell you we can make a creative website for you,
mhm,
right? But it is very so if you think of the payment cycle, it's very short. You service a client, you get money, right?
mhm,
When you talk about products, it's a different ball game. You need to have a lot of runway,
mhm,
long runway,
mhm,
product inception, right? You know about it, launch, go to market, all that, which takes a lot of time, energy, and money, right? Very simple. Uh, are we ready for the opportunity cost when you're out of college? Probably not, because I'm sure your parents will ask you, right? Not your, but now, kya kara is, oh, so they think I'm going to first burn the cash
mhm,
for 3 years and hope it will work.
mhm,
Not a great sensible idea, right? I think that's the problem, and that's where. And then why not get funding? Fund is the own challenge, right? Otherwise, everyone will get funding and do that, right? Not easy because we deal with them day in day out.
mhm.
I think that's the first problem. Is
We don't
the
have Y Combinator in India.
oh yeah we don't again even if you have
Mhm,
I've been dealing with a lot of people from
mhm,
US, right? The investors are smart. Let me it is smart money, right? They know what they have their team to do due diligence, right? I
mhm,
mean they are here for to actually do to get an ROI. So let's not even go there, but yeah, we can talk about it.
mhm,
Very difficult to launch someone to launch a startup which is in red, right? And you need to be profitable for that day one. I think that's where the problem is. Otherwise, I don't think copying itself is an issue.
mhm,
Uh, uh, always believing that copying in the sense, if there's an idea, if there's a product, right? If
mhm,
it's working, you can be a second product. It's like having software, right? If your software, sorry, so, uh, a soft drink, right? For example, you already have a lot of brands. Who is stopping you to launch as, oh, you are copying another brand? Yes, because there is room for all flavors of soft drinks in the market, right? Or there's a pan or whatever. You got multiple brands.
mhm,
Mobile phone, right? So you're not going to reinvent saying, oh, the same technology is used by company X, I'm going to reinvent. You can't. I mean, and the laptop or the hardware will become same. Obviously, I think India has done it right. You got Uber, you got Ola,
mhm,
Flipkart, or whatever. Right? It's again admiration of the thing which is working. If I say if someone is copying, well, that means your thing is working. Otherwise, I would call you or someone copy that. But then make sure you also add value. It shouldn't be just a cheap copy, as I mentioned on price sensitive, right? You're not just going to compete on that. So, for example, you had Uber, now we got Ola, right? Or yeah, I think we got Airbnb in India has Oyo, right? Whatever. I mean, there are a lot of so many
mhm,
examples you can give. Um, Copying a business model is fine because you, as I mentioned previously, there is no blue ocean opportunity.
mhm.
You can't suddenly think, oh, no one has thought about this in this world. I'm going to make something; it will be profitable as well. I'm sure there's a reason why no one has come with it, or probably
That's the biggest statement. There is no blue ocean strategy, right? There's no blue ocean opportunities.
because see, we have got so many bright minds, right? And there's a lot of collective wisdom which is happening in California or anywhere across the world, right? It's not only me and you talking.
Mhm,
I'm sure there's a team of people who the idea is to create some ideas. I'm part of the inner circle where they showcase their very initial stage startup and like, oh, I've seen it somewhere. Yeah, I'm already doing it. Like even the people who are at the top of the game,
mhm,
they know yes, there are 20 people every week who are trying to do that. And he say, oh, look, I got an idea. And that's his day and do a job, not someone sitting and suddenly getting an idea.
mhm,
He or she doesn't realize there are already 1,000 people thinking around it and they already written down pros and cons, profitability,
mhm,
ROI, market gap, fit analysis. It's been done,
mhm,
right? You are sitting in one of the corner, a single might not have thought about everything, but there is a team. When you launch a product, there's a team around it, right? Is it a market fit? Just because I'm passionate about something, is there a market? What is the ROI? Will I get funding? What is the roadmap for 3 years, right? People scale it. So
mhm,
I think I don't want to say there's no pollution, but if as a single person you thought about it,
mhm,
either someone else is already working on it or
mhm,
it's not viable. I mean, the simple. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that nothing can be done, but then I mean, think of, as I mentioned, a PDF reader, right? As I mentioned, I'm sure a lot of people thought about it, but there are other products or working on it. I'm sure OpenAI has
Mhm.
a team of people working around you. You might not even imagine you might need it, but they know you will need it and they're already working on it. So
Yes.
what is stopping them from something saying, oh, since Keshav thought about it, my team didn't think about it. No, they are ahead of the game, right? They know much more than you. I mean, I'm just taking a name, but there are all the product company, they know much more what you will like.
Mhm.
They got a team of UI experts. So I mean, without going too much detail,
Mhm.
but you need a team of experts
Mhm.
and you need an ecosystem to thrive on that. I think that's where we lack because it's like a good startup. I'm not saying it won't happen
Mhm.
somewhere in the remote part of India. You can still do it, but then probably even India, there are giants, right? Giant companies. What is stopping a giant company to venture into that? Because they got pockets, they got deep pockets, they got a team. They can get it and do it for you. But anyway, yeah.
When Uber Ola came into the market back in India, I had this idea because I was a part of supply chain business, and I thought of like, why not there is some Uber Ola type of thing for trucks, for mini trucks and small trucks, and then after some years down the line, we have Porter in the market. So I was just saying to myself that Keshav, just having idea is not enough. You have to execute it also and come into the market also. Someone had the same idea and they executed it, and now they are having this advantage in the market. So just implement it. If you think anything which is missing, just implement it. Not having just having idea is not enough. Which
I
is
think ideas are there. Execution is the key, right?
just
Execution and the GTM strategy, go to market is the key, right?
mm,
I'm sure you have a lot of ideas, but can you execute? Can you go to the market in next 3 weeks?
mm,
And can you demo a product? Can you fail early? Can you get a feedback? I think that's where the deep pocket also comes because you should have a team to market it on social
right,
media or whatever,
right,
right?
right,
A
right,
big
right,
business.
right.
You might not have, you might be capable, but you might not have deep pockets. I think that's where it goes into.
Done. Thank you so much, Ashish. It was lovely talking to you. It was a great conversation. Thank you for your time.
Same here, Keshav. I think the feeling is mutual and likewise. And I see you doing a lot of good work. So all the best for that. Thank you.
Thank you.